Hi, my name is Glenn Hasselman. I'm just making this video for the users of free accounting software to show you guys how to do the Taxable Payments Annual Report or TPAR lodgement using free accounting software. So I'll start at the beginning and I'm just going to create a brand new organization. Now you can do this in either with a desktop local file or with a BASOF hosted file, and it's basically the same. So I'm just going to choose a desktop file and make up some details. Software uses the financial year as the default year that you're working with for the TPAR, but you probably already have that set up. I'm just going to choose yes to say I'm registered for GST in this demo. Okay. On the next page it's your My Business Details page, and there's probably some other things to fill in here for the purposes of the TPAR. So some of these bits of information are used on the generated TPAR. Okay, and save that. Now the main thing to set up to use Taxable Payments Annual Report is your tax codes. So there is a tax code here called GST Taxable Purchase that you would generally use when you're buying something where you're going to claim the GST. And what we need to set up is something quite similar to this, but with the TPAR classifications filled in here. So click New Tax Code, and I'm going to call it GST Taxable Contract to Purchase, and the percentage is the same, which is 1/11, because the percentage is applied to the GST inclusive figure, so it's not 10%, it's 1/11, and that's the same as the normal taxable purchase. Classification reference is asset, and that's because it relates to the tax portion of this transaction line, which is GST that is claimable back from the ATO, and so that is an asset. On the BAS, we want to put it under non-capital purchases. Now, this is where it's different, and so for the TPAR classification, you obviously will select that it is going to go on the Taxable Payments Annual Report. For the gross amount, you want to scroll right down to the bottom and pick Taxable Payments Annual Report Gross, and the tax classification is Taxable Payments Annual Report GST. There is another one there called Taxable Payments Annual Report Tax Withheld for No ABN. That's rare for it to be used, but I will show how to set that up as well. So save that. Okay, now you might want another tax code for when it's GST free contractor purchase. So let's set that up. percentage rate is 0. Active true. I mean, the tax will be 0, but I still put asset there. On the BAS classification, you want to pick GST free purchases. Taxable Payments Annual Report, of course. Now, Taxable Payments Annual Report gross, so it's still gross. That's the same as the previous one. And the for the tax on the transaction line, well, that's a 0, but I'm going to just select this anyway. It shouldn't make a difference. You could actually select not applicable there. Okay, so now the other thing to check is in the accounts section. We've got this account called contractors, and its default tax code is GST taxable purchase. It's probably better to put it to GST taxable contractor purchase. When you do your tax return, there's a spot for contractor purchases on the tax return. If your TPARs don't balance to that figure, I think you will get a letter from the ATO asking you to correct it. So if you are in an industry that's got to report taxable payments annual reports, you probably want to make sure that everything in that contractor's account is getting the correct tax code. The other thing you want to make sure of if you are doing taxable payments annual report is that you are recording all the information when you're setting up your suppliers. So if you if I select, I'll have to create a counterparty so that I can generate this TPAR, so I'll do that now. I'll just call it Bob Builder, and if it's an individual, you can put the you should put the name here, so it's in structured format with the first name and surname. And the key here is to collect all this information as you go throughout the year. You don't really want to get to the end of the year trying to generate your taxable payments annual reports and realize you haven't set this up and have to go back and try to find the details of the invoice and track down the contractor. So okay, so that's all you have to set up. You can put a trading name as well, and that actually is used on the taxable payments annual report. It's some of this information you might not put it when you normally set up your regular suppliers, but when you have to do taxable payments annual report, you want to make sure it's filled in. Okay, now with that setup done, we can actually go and generate the taxable payments annual report. Or sorry, we can go and enter the purchase to the supplier. So I'll go new transaction. Now I'm doing this in the 2020 financial year, so I'll pick a date in that range. Okay, so just pick the contractor's account. It's defaulting to the GST taxable contractor purchase, which is that tax code we set up, and then save. Okay, now I can generate the taxable payments annual report. So to do that, you just go to reports and lodgements and click on taxable payments annual report. There's no parameters to select except for this amend TPARs, even if unchanged. So anyway, I'll explain that in a moment as well. But yeah, having generated them, you can actually amend and generate a second time. Anyway, let's generate it. Okay, and it's taking me to a new page. So we were on the TPAR list before. It's now generated one taxable payments annual report because we only set up one. But if we had 10 of them, they would all been listed here. You can go to the lodgement, but first let's double click on this one, and you can see all the details that it's generated. So there's basically all those details we set on the setup of the counterparty. In fact, there's a financial institution which is not compulsory to fill in there. You could add that in. I'm not sure if the software will. I don't think it will, but anyway, yeah, there is a payment instruction in one of the versions, but I haven't made that public. Anyway, but if you wanted to put in the VSBN account number for the supplier, you could put that in there, but it's not compulsory. We've only entered the one payment. These are actually disabled, so you can't change that. But yeah, those are the amounts that it's generated. There is no amount of ABN withholding or no ABN withholding there. Now down here there is this other thing, and there are government departments which make payments, and they need to actually create one TPAR for each payment and put in the date. Most people won't need to worry about that, so just leave that as the defaults. If you make any changes there, you can save those changes. Yeah. Anyway, from here we can go back to the list of the TPARs, and then we can go to the lodge page. Okay, so on this lodge page, it's generated a lot of details, like the year that it relates to, and brought in the details of the business. There are some things like fax number, which are not on the business master file, but you can, or your My Business details, it's not there, but if you wanted to put that in, you could fill that in there. And there's the agent details, so if you are a tax agent, that will get generated. If you're not, just leave that blank. Now, there's a note here at the bottom. It says, note, you need to save the TPAR before you save lodge file, and then you need to upload the file in the ATO, and in fact that goes on to say the business portal, right? So if you try to save it before, or if you try to save the lodge file before you click save TPAR, it will just give you an error message because it hasn't recorded these informations yet. In fact, you might want to give it a reference. Give it a file reference. Okay, save that and then save the lodge file. It's going to ask me where to save it to. I'm just going to try to pick the desktop if I can. Save. Okay. I'm going to call it TPAR 101. Let me just put .txt on it. Okay, so once I've saved it, the system has set the document status to lodged, and that will prevent me changing this TPAR, and the saved TPAR is grayed out. So you can, I haven't actually lodged it yet because that file has to get uploaded to the ATO, but it's not like the other lodgements which go straight from this software to the ATO. It's producing a file that then has to get uploaded, so the software doesn't know when you've done that, and it just presumes you've done it. Anyway, you can click unlodge this TPAR and redo that if you needed to. But anyway, now here is the file we've saved. Now where you would go to lodge this, you'd go to the business portal, which is at bp.ato.gov.au, and you'd click login. Now I've already logged in, hopefully I haven't timed out here. Now this is the business portal. I can't really scroll up because the tax file number is displayed up there, but you know, down the bottom left of the menu there is a thing that says lodge file. There's a link here to say what reports can I lodge here, and if you click that link you'll end up over here, and one of them is the Taxable Payments Annual Report. Okay, so back on this lodge page, you would select that it's a lodge, not a test. Choose the file. Probably you want to receive a notification, so you put your email address in there. When you're lodging something, there's always a box to tick to agree to the declaration, and then you would submit that file. Okay, so yeah, so if it's not clear, you go choose file, go to the desktop and actually select that file. Okay, I'm not going to submit that obviously because that's a just random demonstration type data, but that's basically the end of the process for your normal TPAR. What I will quickly demonstrate is the ABN withholding. So if you don't have it, ABN withheld, you might decide you don't need to watch the next part of this video, but I'll just do that quickly. So remember when we set up the tax codes, we didn't set up the ABN withheld, so I'll do that now. New tax code, we'll call it contractor no ABN withheld. Okay, percentage rate is 100%, right? So you're going to withhold 46.5%, but the way we enter the transaction, it's not going to be like an indirect tax. We're actually going to withhold the tax. With GST, you pay them the GST. In this case, we withhold, so it's different, and the percentage rate will be 100%. Active is true. Classification, I guess this is a liability because you withhold it and you have to pay it to the ATO. On your BAS, there's a thing here called no ABN withholding. Again, we're putting it on the Taxable Payments Annual Report, and yeah, we won't want to do that. We won't want this to go in the Taxable Payment Annual Report gross. In fact, we are going to need another tax code to be the gross in this case. So we put not applicable on the, what I'm setting up here is the no ABN amount withheld. So not setting up the, we'll need another tax code which is the gross that is subject to this no ABN withheld. Anyway, and then for the tax amount we select taxable payments, tax withheld, no ABN. Okay, save that. Now we need another tax code which is for the gross that relates to this no ABN withholding. So let's do that. Contractor, what will I call it? Gross. No ABN withholding applies. Okay. Percentage 0%. Active is true. Just call it a liability as well. This will not go on the BAS because they don't have a spot for the gross amount that relates to the ABN withholding. They just have the ABN withholding. Your taxable payments annual report, and here we can select taxable payments annual report gross. The tax is not going to be on this line, so we would put not applicable. Okay, so this is to get the gross amount where we are withholding no ABN withholding. And hopefully that'll become clearer when we enter a transaction, which is what I will do right now. So let's say we're going to go new transaction. Again, I'll put it into the 2020 financial year for this demo. Okay, now first line would be the gross. So let's say we paid $1,000 and it was going to contractors, and it defaults to GST taxable contractor purchase. That's not actually what we want, because we want to use the contractor gross ABN withholding applies. Now that sets up the gross that goes onto the taxable payments annual report. We need to add a line and deduct the no ABN withholding. So here we put minus $465 and select the account contractors as well. Now again, it's come up with this default taxable contractor purchase. That's not what we want. The tax code is contractor no ABN withheld. Now you'll notice here that the amount and the tax amount are the same. So it's 100% tax. This second line is all tax. The first line has got tax amount of 0, so there's no tax withheld there. And what entering it like this does, it gives us the net amount of $535, which is what we're going to pay to the contractor. So yeah, in that case, so you see, you can't do this on the one line, because you need to get that $1,000 gross and then deduct it. If you put the 465 here, it won't be correct, because you'll have $1,000 down in the total amount. Okay, so that's how you enter it, and then save. Now I'm going to regenerate this taxable payments annual report. So click on taxable payments annual report, and there's the one there that we already did, and it's got status of lodge complete. We're gonna in fact we can actually leave this unticked. So this is amend TPARs even if unchanged. In this case, the TPAR has changed because we've actually added a new transaction. So the software is going to be actually a little bit smart and go, hey, that TPAR is no longer right, and create a new one. So let's see how we go. Okay. So there, it's generated a TPAR for Bob Builder again. In this case, is this an amended TPAR? It now says yes. previous one I didn't really point it out, but it would have been no. This one is actually an amended TPAR. So if we lodge that previous one, then realize, hey, hang on, there was some ABM withholding, and we could fix it in this way. Anyway, all those normal details are there. The difference now is that we have 3,200 gross, so that was previously 2,200, but now we've added 1,000, which was subject to the tax withheld. We've got the original GST, and we've got this no ABM withholding of 465. So that's already generated. I didn't change that, so I don't need to save. I can go back to the counterparty amounts page, where you see all your TPARs lists and review them. In this case, there's only one, and then you can click to go to the TPAR lodgement page, and give it a name. Save that. So that's a bit of a trap. Make sure you save it. And it's big sort of writing there, but people tend to not read that. But save, and then click Save Lodge File, and then save. And having saved that file, you could then go to the ATO Business Portal and lodge that as an amended TPAR. Alright, well, I hope that's everything to know about TPARs, or enough that people can lodge them. And I hope this video has been useful to you, and thank you for watching.